Welcome to the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. I'm Armando Carbonell. I chair the Department of Planning and Urban Forum here, and it is a great pleasure to introduce Heather Tremain to you. Someone I know well enough that I don't need these notes to introduce Heather. She is a Loeb Fellow at Harvard this year, but also a visiting fellow at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. So we call her a Lincoln Loeb Fellow. I suspect Jim Soccer calls her a Loeb Lincoln Fellow, but that's the way that will go. Heather is an architect who had an undergraduate training in political science. I think you'll see some of that comes through here. And she's been practicing architecture and green building and development projects, some of which you'll see in Vancouver, British Columbia for some time. And coming here to Lincoln and to Harvard, we have expanded her horizons, I think, as well as changed a bit the scale at which she thinks about some of the things she's been doing in her career. And so I'm looking very much forward to hearing from Heather on her work in progress as a Lincoln Loeb Fellow. Take it away.
Great. Thanks, Armando. Okay, now first, let me see if I can overcome technical challenges of being a Mac person. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay, we did get a little formatting. So thank you all for coming today. I guess climate change is a hot topic by the looks of the fullness of the room. I've been kind of a little bit, it's been amazing to have this opportunity to have this fellowship, because it's given me this opportunity to kind of step outside of my regular work and to think quite, I think, deeply and broadly about this. So this is, as Armando said, a bit of a work in progress. This will kind of carry on for a little bit longer. But anyways, I want to share with you where I'm at right now, and I really invite your feedback and your thoughts on it. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to give you a little bit to start off a little bit of an understanding of climate change. I mean, it's a topic we all know a lot, we all hear a lot about. A bit of the role of cities in terms of climate change and role of cities and local governments. And then look at what kind of support is necessary and useful for at the regional level for local decision making. And I have 3 governance case studies that I've been looking at. And then I'll expand to some policy implications. So just really briefly on climate change, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report of 2007, most people have heard about this in combination with the Stern report, coming out and saying human activity is a major contributor to global warming. And really for us to sustain life on the planet in the ways that we know it now, we need to limit the temperature rise to 2 to 3 degrees. That's actually requires a significant cut in greenhouse gas emissions compared to where we're at right now. That's a 60 to 80% below 1990 levels, and most places are well above that. You'll see that California now says it's about 15% above 1990 levels. So this is a significant change of lifestyle. And last week in Copenhagen, many of the members of the IPCC were together, and what they're saying is that really we're not acting fast enough, and that all of the climate change models and the kind of all the indicators that are out there about climate change that are actually more severe than their worst case scenarios. So it really is an issue that is critical and something we need to act on now. So where do cities play into this? So the 75% of greenhouse gas emissions can be attributed to cities. That's a statistic from the Clinton Climate Initiative. So that's if you draw a circle around cities and you look at the kind of activities going on with cities, that so the kind of industry and buildings, etc. That's what cities contribute. But I think what's actually more meaningful is looking at the things that cities have some control over, some leverage over. So 40% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions are attributable to buildings. Cities have an impact there. 33% of greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. are transportation related. So these are the places where cities have some ability to operate and leverage and create impact. I wanted to kind of take a step back here for a second and give you a little bit of kind of my background and why. So when I talk later about buildings, I do know a little bit about buildings. So I'll establish my credibility here. This is a project that my company, Resource, was the developer of. So it's a project, it's an urban infill project. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the old automotive service garage that is now blue with it's an urban infill project, very close to downtown with limited parking. And as a rule, we only do multifamily housing because by nature of the form and the ratio of the floor space area to the envelope of the building, they are much more energy efficient forms. So we wouldn't do any other kind of form. And these are the kinds of benefits that you can look for in cities and in kind of, and some of the kind of development that we might be looking forward to. And this is actually sitting in a largely single family community, but it's at a scale that works. Again, kind of another shot of it. This is a larger project. For the planners in the room, it has a floor area ratio of 1.7. It's 60 units on a 1 acre site. It was an affordable housing project. And again, the design of the form of the building and the technologies that we used allowed us to reduce the energy use in the building by 65% from a regular code building. So I'm going to say some things later about buildings. So and from my own experience, what I would say is that there is real capacity and real ability to move significantly in terms of energy efficiency in buildings. This is a project that's in Vancouver that we were involved with as consultants. And it's a bit of it's I think a good example of mixed use project. There's actually 4 big box retail stores that are captured within this form that you see on the lower right. It's got a Winners, which is a big women's clothing store that typically sits on the outside edge of a city in the regular big box format. And there's a Home Depot in there. So it's got the, it basically brings big box together, and sitting on top of it, you might be able to see in this image, there are 100 units of housing and then a very green landscape that's provided for the housing. So this creates this essentially quite mixed use form with very highly trafficked retail very close to the downtown core of the city, so where their kind of catchment is. So rather than having people drive out to the edge of the city to access that retail. This is another project. This is a project that I would say is kind of a complete community project. So it's at Simon Fraser University. You can see the university to the left, and then a new development to the right. It's a 10,000 person community. It won the American Planners Association Innovative Green Communities Award that was first given out last year. And I worked there as the kind of, I was replacing their vice president of development for a short period of time while they were restructuring. So it was like being a substitute teacher with all the work and none of the respect. But the decision on that community was to do, it's quite a dense community. The streets have an extensive stormwater management plan, so there's not a lot of erosion off of them. There's no erosion off the mountainside. There's 10,000 people who will live there, but one of the first things that they put into this community was retail, so that people could live and work and shop on the mountain. And then later on I'll talk a little bit about Vancouver, and it's very much a kind of polynucleated region, so there's a number of centers, but because this is off on its own, they're now talking about doing a gondola to connect the mountain down to the rapid transit system. So thinking about ways that we can connect areas with efficient transportation systems. So that's kind of, just to kind of give you a scope, to concretize some of the things I'm going to talk about later, and also, but now I want to get into the role of cities. So this is from the recent California legislation that actually sets targets for greenhouse gas emissions within the state of California.